This is a top 3 Airbnb of all time for me. And that is definitely saying a lot because we have visited nearly 150 Airbnbs on this channel so far. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are about 2 hours outside of Quebec City in Canada at Repere Boreal. Excuse my French, but it is this very impressive compound with over 30 different cabins. And we're at one of their newer builds. It's a tiny A-frame cabin with an incredibly unique design, and it's also perched 40 feet up in the air. It is still just mind-blowing to me how they even managed to construct something like this. So you are all in for a real treat today. Strap in, let's now go and start the full tour. Welcome back to Canada to this tiny A-frame cabin on stilts. The owners have named this dwelling Uhu, which means owl in the Innu language. I visited here in late September, right when the leaves were starting to change, but let's now go around to the other side of the exterior. You can find the entryway over here, and instead of just having a normal boring staircase, the owners built this tall wooden tower around the stairs to create this very unique design. And this place just towers over you when you look up from the ground. But let's now go over here, and this is where you can find your fire pit. Let's walk on down, and over on the left-hand side, I'm going to open up this big storage compartment, and you can find all of your firewood and fire starting supplies. So I'll grab some wood and begin to get a fire going. I thought it was really cool how this entire platform just looks like it's floating out over the ground. And now our fire is all set. You even have this chair here, which looks like it's from a ski lift. And on the left, you can find a small table and 2 chairs. Let's now begin to head up. Inside of the tower, there is a spiral staircase, and when you get closer, you can just see how many individual pieces of wood went into constructing this tower. It's pretty remarkable, but we've now made it to the cabin. I'll walk across this bridge that connects the tower to the cabin. This is definitely not your typical A-frame. I mean, just look at those angles. And there are also 2 chairs up here and a little table, so you can either relax on the ground floor or up here. Finally, these are some surrounding area drone shots. You can see there are 2 cabins like this at the property, and in the distance is the St. Lawrence River, which eventually feeds out into the Atlantic Ocean. But I'm now going to open up this black door because it's time to come inside to see the interior. Welcome inside of the Uhu cabin. It is definitely a one-of-a-kind shaped window. There are some mountains and the river there again in the distance, and there are even some skylights and additional windows if you look further up to ensure there is plenty of natural light coming in. Let's start this way back towards the front entrance. We're going to begin here and then work our way further into the cabin. There's a lot to see in this one space. On the left, there is a mirror and a mat for your shoes, and I'll then open up this large door and you can find your fridge back here and a couple of other essentials like your fire extinguisher and some fire starting supplies for the fire pit that we saw down below on the ground. Right across from the fridge, I'm now going to slide out to the storage compartment. Down below, there are some cleaning supplies. Then up top, there's actually your hair dryer. I'm going to get to the bathroom next. Lastly, there are 2 hangers so you can hang up your jackets or other clothes. Let's go to the bathroom next. This is pretty much it. It's just the toilet in here. Up top, there is some cool lighting though, but that will do it for the bathroom. Next, right down from the bathroom, there is your shower. So I'll slide back this glass door and there's definitely enough space. I didn't bang my head or anything like that. And there's already some soap waiting for you along that wall. There is definitely everything that you need in this shower. Let's head to the kitchen next. This is all of your countertop space. Over there on the left, there is your sink, of course, and the guidebook to this cabin. On the right then, there is a small stovetop with a tea kettle. At the end of the countertop, you have these 3 shelves with all of your bowls, mugs, and plates. And if you look up, there's this clever little contraption that houses these 2 very important items. That would be these 2 fancy looking wine glasses. Back in this direction, this kitchen really is quite well equipped considering the size. They even managed to fit a toaster oven in this bottom drawer, and there are some other key items like some additional pots and pans and some other cooking utensils. So I was pretty impressed with what they managed to fit. One of my favorite spaces in the cabin though has to be this sitting area, which you can find beneath some of those skylights that we saw earlier. You have these 2 fancy looking stools, and the owners left behind some reading material. On top of this little table though, there are some additional little goodies like some candles, but I think the most meaningful one can be found beneath this glass. If I pick this up, it's an owl, which is what the cabin is named after. I'll now shift our attention from the sitting area over to the bed. This is a queen mattress, I believe, and this is a new and different angle looking back towards the kitchen and the bathroom. And just look at all of that natural light, baby, coming in from the windows. It seriously makes my life so much easier as a videographer shooting video in these cabins when I can use the natural light instead of turning on the artificial lighting. But now also on top of the bed, there's some additional little items like your towels, of course, and we have these sleeping masks. Beneath the bed, I'll pull out one of these drawers because you have some extra storage space down here. I also found this bed to be quite comfortable, and I mean, it doesn't get much better than that view. Before I wrap up, I have to point out what else there is to do on this property while you're staying here. They have a spa zone with a barrel sauna, multiple hot tubs, and this outdoor cold shower. There's also a rooftop terrace, which is a little closer to the river and great for sunset. I found all of these staff to be super friendly, and you can flip through a guidebook at any of their cabins for a map of the entire property, more info on this family's story, or a menu. You can go back to the front desk and order some food. I went with a French baguette, some kombucha, and some local meat and cheese. And I found everything to be incredibly delicious, especially this baguette, if you couldn't tell from any of my facial expressions here. We'll be touring their other cabins in upcoming videos, like some of their tiny homes or even their tiny shipping container home that you see here, so be on the lookout. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you very soon for another Airbnb tour.